name is Heather Swift, and I'm delighted to be your host. The purpose of the Career Corner is to help move people from career distress to career success. We all love stories about people who have transformed their careers to follow their passions. Today's guest did just that. Randy Rabney, the founder of theconsciousplate.com, is our guest today, and she's going to take us through her work life from legal to real estate to her passion for food. Randy, thank you for being on the Career Corner today.
Oh, thanks for hosting me. I'm happy to be here, Heather.
That's great. Well, I've really enjoyed our pre-discussions about your passion and how you keep it so simple for people to be able to enjoy and relish and really be able to provide healthy, quality meals. I know you didn't start there, so can you take us a little through your transformation from what brought you to legal and then to food, because they're very different things when you go to the marketplace.
Sure. So, all right, so I'm going back a ways to my childhood in New York.
Please do, please do.
Okay. So when I was growing up, I always loved food, and in fact, in early childhood, the only toy I can really remember is my Easy Bake Oven. I even loved cooking when I was a kid.
I never had one.
I mean, I remember it. I mean, like it had a light bulb. It was yellow.
I remember that. I remember that.
And
yes.
I just remember using that and loving it. So, I always loved food, but I never, for whatever reason, and I was exposed to a lot of good food growing up.
Was your mom a good cook?
It wasn't so much that my mom was a good cook. It was that we lived in New York and everything was accessible
Easy
to
access,
us. Right.
Yeah.
We're living in a place with lots of diversity, so I could just as easily be eating, like bagels and cream cheese or Chinese food or Italian food. It was just, all available to me, or I can be in someone's home who was of Armenian descent and eating in their house. So just I was exposed to a lot of different food when I was growing up, and I really loved it. And, I just thought that was the way life was, that food was good, everybody lived that way.
And everyone had like Chinese, Japanese, Italian, like right down the street.
You only know what you know, right? You don't know what you don't know. So, growing up, the other thing was that I was raised knowing from the age of 5 that I was going to be a lawyer.
Is that because you're a psychic?
My parents directed me, so I was very much on a path that, you go to elementary school, you go to middle school, which was called junior high when I was growing up. Then you go to high school, then you go to college, and then you go to law school. And that was the path
in that order,
I was on.
And that's exactly
Oh,
what you
yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah. That was like really, really clear, and I knew that since early childhood. So I never really thought about, food being a possible career in any way, shape, or form. It was just something I enjoyed. It was a hobby, and it was great. And then, I went off to law school, and I had experimented with a bunch of different diets. I had been to spas. I learned about fat-free food. I loved the notion of like making food fat-free, like that whole thing. Like, wow, great! Like you can eat more, right? Because fat grams are like that's the most calories,
evil,
right?
That's
So if you could make something lower in fat, you could eat more of it. And for me, as a person who loved to cook, it was like really fun making fat-free food taste good. But what I didn't realize was the amount of chemicals and the stripping of the nutrients that a fat-free diet sometimes can encompass.
Isn't that the joke, though, that people do think that way? Like, oh, well, this cookie's fat-free, so I can have a whole box versus having the real thing with all the goodness in it.
Completely. Well, there's that. I mean, there's that. There's the amount that people eat when they eat fat-free food. But there's also the fact that all of these packaged foods contain so many chemical additives, so many preservatives, made from white flour where the nutrients are just gone, made with refined sugar because sugar is fat-free. And I'm talking about going back now like 17 years when I was doing this, okay?
Yeah. But it was probably even healthier fat-free food.
So, so I'm not talking about today where like a lot of people know this. It was like, it was like a long...
Like cutting edge.
Yeah, it was a long time ago that I was eating that way. But what happened for me was that after a while of being on that diet, I was practicing law, and I had been practicing law for 12 years at that point. I got sick with what I thought was the flu. And I started to get better, and I wasn't getting well. And about 3 weeks into it, I had a conversation with my doctor, and she said, "Come in, let's check your blood work." I'm like, "Do you think I could have mono?" She's like, "It's possible." She said, she said, like, you could have Epstein-Barr, you could have chronic fatigue. Let's check your blood. So one of the things she asked me was if I ate a lot of flour and a lot of wheat, and I said, yes, I do. And then the other thing she asked me is if I had been on antibiotics at all during my life, because a possible side effect would be the whole same yeast issue. So she suggested that I go on a diet that eliminated certain foods, one of which was wheat and, a bunch of other things. So I went on this detox diet, and being a person who loved to experiment with food, I was totally cool to do it.
Yeah.
No. For me, it was
it
kind of
good?
interesting because it presented like another challenge.
So it was like a science project.
Well, it was like, I can't eat this, but let's see what I can eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went on this diet and I started to detox, and I felt really, really terrible for the first few days. And then once I got past that detox period, I started to feel really clean and clear. And what happened was, for the first time in my life ever, I made the connection between what we eat and how it makes us feel. And, when I talk to people about this today, some people are like, duh.
Yeah.
And other people are like, huh?
Interesting.
Some people don't get it at all because they still haven't had that experience. So, that was a real turning point for me. And when I ultimately did get better, I closed my law practice and I went to the Natural Gourmet Institute for Food and Health. And I went to the chef training program there, and that's where I started learning about what's commonly called whole foods and whole foods nutrition. And, just for a working definition, food as close to the way nature created it as possible with all of its edible parts. So not something that's been stripped of its nutrients and had the nutrients added back in, but, something, for example, like sea salt with all of its minerals versus table salt where the minerals have been extracted. Or whole wheat versus white flour, just food with every piece that's in it so that it gives your body what it needs and they all work in harmony with one another. And once I started learning about that, I changed the way I ate forever. I changed the way I cooked forever, and I started combining my love for really, really good food with my love for healthy, nourishing food, and I started to develop a whole new cooking style and a whole new way of eating. So that put me on the path with looking at food in a different way and really deepened my love for it. And then while I was in school, the other thing that happened for me was I decided that I wanted to have a child. So I got out of school, did an internship at the Golden Door Spa out in California. Yeah, that was kind of cool. Taught some classes to some kids in New York City, and then decided to have my son and did not work during my pregnancy and stayed home with him for the first year of his life.
So did you make organic baby food and all that good stuff?
I did. I nursed for 2.5 years.
Oh,
Yeah, the whole thing.
Well, especially if you're not working, why not,
it just worked for us as a family. For some people it works, for some people it doesn't work. For us,
if
that's
you were
what
busy
worked.
in a law practice, that would be a little trickier.
Completely different. Yeah. So, it was great. But, so I did make all homemade food for him and, tried to develop his palate. And in some ways it worked, and in some ways it didn't, He eats some things that kids would, never eat, and then, other kids' foods he won't eat at all. And, so, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I guess so. So I know you ended up switching into real estate for a while. And was the food idea of maybe making money for it at some point in the back of your head of I think I could create a business, or did you not really think that way for a while?
I think the hardest piece of it for me was that I didn't see how I could turn it into a business. I knew what I knew, and I knew the value of it, and I knew how fundamentally life-changing it could be for people, in the short term and in the long term, but I wasn't quite sure how I could turn it into a business and, quite frankly, earn the kind of money that I wanted to earn, and support my family the way I wanted to support my family.
I think that often stumps people when they think they have a passion or a neat idea, is that how do you bridge that gap to making money with it and not just helping people?
That's right.
And some people, I think, feel very guilty about an exchange of currency for their gift or their passion because they so love doing it. Because there's a lot of healers out there that feel that way, a lot of yoga people and different folks that have really wonderful trade skills that feel guilty when you don't feel guilty paying your tax accountant.
That's right.
Or other more
exactly
typical
right.
careers in exchange.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I see it all the time. And the thing is, I don't feel badly about earning money because I give a lot of money to causes I believe in. I do a lot of community service. And I don't feel that if I earn money, I'm taking away from anybody else's ability to earn. It's just not the way.
And it shouldn't.
It's not the way I see it. You know what I mean?
Good.
So yeah. I mean, the thing is, I love what I do so much that I would do it for free. And oftentimes, when I show up at a client's home or I teach a class, I will go longer than, the deal that we've made. I can easily say to a client, oh, I'm going to come and spend 4 hours with you, and 5.5 hours later I'm still at their house saying, okay, do you feel complete? Call me if you need anything.
Yeah.
Because I do love what I do so much, but, it wasn't that I didn't feel that I could earn money. I wasn't quite sure the correct vehicle. And so, when I ultimately started this business, it really was like a big step into faith. I looked at my partner. We had been in the real estate business. My spouse, my life partner, was my business partner. We had been in the real estate business together at that point for about 5 years. I looked at her and I said, the business is yours. I need to be with food now.
Yeah.
I don't know what my business is going to look like in a week, a month, a year, 5 years from now, but I know that I have this thing that I need to share with people, and I have to do it.
Oh, that's nice. I think that sometimes the leap into faith is really what it's about, to at least start launching something, because people also learn from the mistakes of what's not working. And you meet other people along the way to help tweak things.
That's right.
Did you have a particular mentor that was important to you as you were kind of getting this launched for yourself?
In what regard?
As far as even getting the website together, and what kind of things could you do to make money and to really have fun with your business?
I mean, do you mean, did I look at someone's business model, or
a business model, or someone else that did something fun with food that you learned from, or kind of where did you get your ideas for how to make it successful?
I really did not see anybody doing exactly what I wanted to do. That was the thing. I did not see anybody doing what I wanted to do, because people would say to me, oh, you should cook for people. It was like, no, that keeps them dependent upon me. That's not what I want to do.
It was just funny, because we all know that metaphor. If you teach a person to fish, they can fish for a lifetime.
Completely.
So this is your life, for real.
But people would be like that. They'd be like, oh, you should cook for people. I want you to cook for me. You cook for 5 families, 6 families. You could have a 6-figure income. I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm like, I go away on vacation. Where does that leave people? If I get sick, where does that leave people?
They're back to their microwave in their
right,
Stouffer's
exactly.
cuisine.
I'm like, I want to be an educator. I want to share with people what I've learned and what I've experienced, because I know the value of it, and I want to empower people to have that same skill. So there really wasn't a business model that I knew of that was exactly what I wanted to implement.
So which kind of made it probably fun for you, because you got to figure out how would I want to create this instead of just having a template per se.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, it's been trial and error. It's like, okay, I know what I have to offer. What's the right vehicle?
No, I think that's exciting. And also, it does take bravery and probably a good faith and patience of your spouse partner as well.
I have an extraordinarily supportive spouse.
We love those. That's so good.
Lucky.
That's a very good, important thing to have, especially for the entrepreneur or more creative type.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 businesses in our house, so she's an entrepreneur
that's
as
good.
well.
That's good. Your son's going to learn all kind of fabulous tools in that way.
Yeah.
Well, we have to take a break in a moment for a commercial. So when we come back, let's talk more about what people can come to you for, and also I'd love to dive into how food does affect us before we have those big meetings or those big interviews, to keep your energy up, and how to prepare our bodies so we are honoring ourselves the best we possibly can.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, we'll be back in a few moments with Randy Rabney with theconsciousplate.com.
Hi, I'm Attorney General Martha Coakley. If you have trouble making mortgage payments or are facing foreclosure, ask your lender about a loan modification. Some businesses may try to charge you advance fees for this service. This is illegal. Nonprofit housing counselors are available for free in most communities. For more information, visit our website at mass.gov/AGO or call us at 617-727-8400.
Hi, welcome back to the Career Corner. My name is Heather Swift, and my guest today is Randy Rabney, the founder of theconsciousplate.com. So Randy, when exactly did you found The Conscious Plate?
Actually started the business about 2 years ago, and when I started the business, it was not called The Conscious Plate.
What was it called?
It was just called Randy Rabney, Teaching the Art of Health Conscious Cooking.
Oh, cute. Okay.
And then it evolved into The Conscious Plate. I think I came up with that name for it in June of 2009, and I've been going with that ever since.
Well, it's nice because it covers many different possibilities. The name does.
Yeah.
What are the favorite elements of what you bring to families or to clients that come to you?
Well, I mean, essentially what I teach people is whatever it is that they need to know. So I really, really, really believe in meeting the person where I find them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people come to me for a variety of different reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and they come to me with a variety of different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what I do is I teach a six-step kind of a process to setting yourself up to be able to eat well on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process that I like to teach people is, one, you know, have a mindset that you can do it. A lot of people will like walk into a class that I teach,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll say, I just want you to know I'm not a very good cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll look at them and I'll say, okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And we do. And actually, I taught a class just last night where a woman walked in and she said, I'm not a very good cook. And then I was making this dish that had broccoli. And she looked at the entire class and said, oh, when I was in China, I had broccoli this great way. All they did was steam it. And then they took some dark sesame oil and put it on the broccoli. And I looked at her and said, aren't you the one who told me that you can't cook? You just taught the entire class this great tip.
Oh, that's
Right?
fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. So, you know, that's one of the things that I want people to overcome. I want them to overcome the notion that they think that they can't cook, or that they're really tied to the outcome, because that stops people from not being able to cook. They're really afraid that they're going to make a mistake and that the meal's going to come out badly. And, you know, my feeling about that is that if it comes out badly one time, it's an opportunity to change it the next time.
For sure.
Yeah. So, you know, that's one thing that I work on with people. And invariably, people tell me, like when I talk to them on the phone, that, you know, they make themselves seem like they're in much worse shape than they are. And then I show up at their place and we're working together, and they have a much greater skill set than they actually realize. So what I try to do with people is get them to harness what they already have and know, and just apply it to cooking. I tell them, like, if you know how to eat, you know how to cook, because it's the same skill set in choosing food from a menu as choosing food that you're going to make for yourself.
To kind of put it together.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like when I decide what I'm making for dinner, I ask myself the same questions that I ask myself when I look at a restaurant menu and decide what I'm ordering. People just don't put that together if they don't consider themselves to be cooks.
Yeah, I think there is less of a stereotype, but still I think the women of the house feel like they're still meant to be the cooks or buying the food, and they're still, I think that comes with it. And I know when I got married years ago, I would come home from a full day at work, I would open up a cookbook, write down ingredients, run out to the grocery store in Brooklyn, come back, start cooking it, and by the first week I was a very angry wife. And my husband Patrick, who's like the nicest man, said, I never asked for this. He was like, if you even nuke something, I'd be pleased to have warm food. He said, you don't have to do this. But I thought, oh my God, I had the wedding band and now I have to be the slave in the kitchen. And then I realized, that, you know, smart moms, wives, women that know what they're doing, buy kind of in advance and kind of stage out what they kind of want to work with for the week, instead of like an hour before you want to eat it to go out and start creating this whole menu.
Yeah, and
So
also,
do you help people like me that
I completely help people like you, Heather, but the other piece of it is that I try to like get people to get to a place where they're not trapped with a cookbook. Okay, so like, you know, going back to the 6 steps, I was saying, like, you know, step 2 is like understanding what are quality ingredients, so you know what to buy, so you're starting with like the best
so
ingredients.
you help people stock the pantry?
Yes, and then you know, before we even stock a pantry, we make sure they have the right equipment in their kitchen, because having, you know, the right size cutting board, a good sharp knife, putting a garbage bowl next to your workstation, just having the right equipment is going to make a huge difference too. You know, that you have a frying pan that's big enough to hold all your food, that you have a wooden spoon so you can stir it. Simple things that if you don't cook, you know, that you don't necessarily think about. And then we get to stocking the pantry. So condiments, herbs, spices that you're going to love, that's going to make food taste good to you. So, you know, if you're not a fan of Southwestern flavors, you don't need cumin and chili, right? But if you're a fan of Asian flavors, maybe you want dark sesame oil, maybe you want some soy sauce, maybe you want something sweet like mirin or apple juice to balance that salty flavor from the soy. And if those things are in your house, then you don't have to run out all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I keep things in my house, like I always keep eggs, I always keep onions, I always keep frozen organic spinach, I always keep Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. With that, I can make myself a beautiful frittata. You know, I mean, I just have things on hand. With my Asian seasoning, you know, I always have some kind of vegetables in the house, and I keep soba noodles. I can boil up the noodles and make a quick yakisoba or
Will your
lo
son
mein
eat
type
those?
of
Will he
thing.
eat the food that you cook?
Those kinds of things he really won't eat. Right now, for the moment, he thinks he doesn't want to eat eggs. When he was very, very small, I'd make him an egg, like really small, and he would say, more, more. So he would eat like 3, omelets in a row. But right now, he won't eat that.
We got burnt out. I think we burned out our oldest on eggs also. She won't eat them now. And it was such a perfect food when they're little because they're mushy and they don't choke and cut
That's
them up.
right.
And
yeah, and they're really fast and they're really easy and they're really healthy and they have all sorts of good things in them.
what are your top 3 items in the kitchen that you just love? What are your main items that when you look into your kitchen that you use a lot, or they're just your favorite items for your practice?
So are you talking about equipment items?
Yes, equipment.
Okay, so the basics for me, the absolute essentials, a good sharp chef's knife, a cutting board that's large enough so that you have a good workstation, like not something small like a piece
Those
of
little
paper.
ones, yeah.
Right. I'll often say to people, do you have a good sized cutting board? And then I'll come to their house and it's like, it's like a piece of paper. And then I like to have a bowl that's next to me. That's my essential prep area. And then, adding on to that, I love having a food processor. People tell me like they never use a food processor, but I use it for lots of different things.
Okay.
In fact, I was thinking of like doing a class, like why I love my food processor, and showing people.
Or how to really use the food processor.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because
Showing
people get
people how
one,
to use it.
I think ours is in our basement.
I've had clients tell me, I got married 10 years ago. I got one for my wedding. I've never opened it. I'm like, okay, we're making hummus.
Yeah.
Because once you make one thing,
Yeah.
then you know how to use it, and you
Okay.
can see how beneficial it can be for you. Because like what I'll do is I'll put onion, carrot, garlic in the food processor, and that's my foundation of flavor for so many dishes, from like a pasta sauce to a chili to a meatloaf.
So now do you have any stories of how you were able to help transform some people's kitchens or lives with what you do for your practice?
It goes from, the most basic to people eating out every night and just really not knowing how to get away from that, to being in a place where it's 7 o'clock and, what's for dinner, and we haven't decided what's for dinner, and now an argument's ensuing and everybody's hungry, to coming home at the end of the day and there's an easy home-cooked meal and they sit down and they talk to each other and they all relax and enjoy their home. To me, that's the most transformative, when you can just not be crazy and not be food obsessed and not be compromised in what you're eating. For so many of us, and I know, even with my skill set, it sometimes happens to us. You find yourself in a restaurant, you don't really want to be there. Maybe the food's not particularly good, and you're spending a lot of money. Lots of families are doing that night after night after night after night. And to me, the greatest transformation is when they're no longer doing that.
When they have more home time.
Yeah.
Have you had some clients where they really came to you because medically it was a necessity for them to really turn their health around?
I did have somebody recently, and I'm not quite sure what the outcome has been for them, but I was very, very happy that they took that step. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is working with people who are in a situation where they've been told that they now have to eliminate certain foods, foods that maybe they relied on very heavily in the past and really
Like if you're
loved.
cutting out the wheat, which we spoke about
Exactly.
earlier. How do
Exactly.
they live without their pasta?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, to take people from this mindset of deprivation to showing them all sorts of new ingredients and ways of working with them. So, they thought, wow, my pleasure is gone, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, these foods are amazing. So to do that for somebody makes me feel really, really good.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because when people have issues with other substances like drugs or alcohol or smoking, you can actually cut those out of your life completely if you so choose to do that. But we all need food. And there's so many eating disorders and people feeling differently or badly about their bodies, or just going to the fast food all the time, and we're forgetting that we're creating our future with how we're shoving things into our face without being more conscious about how we're eating.
You're so right about
to
that.
create an awareness. Are you writing a newsletter? Do you write a newsletter on your blog? Do you have a blog or on your website? Do you do that?
Yeah, I actually write a newsletter that goes out to a list of people, and it goes out twice a month, and I talk about various topics from like how to make some fast, delicious, healthy breakfasts to, sometimes I'll even have like somebody as a guest write a feature. Like I have somebody writing a feature in my next issue about sea salts.
Oh, neat.
So yeah, because I often get asked questions about like, what's the difference between sea salt and
Like Whole
kosher
Foods has
salt?
so many, and they're
Right,
gorgeous. They're
right,
pink and they're blue
exactly.
and they're all
I
these
happen
colors.
to love
and-
them. I have 11 sea salts
Oh,
in my
really?
house. I happen to love them.
Like the grinders? Is
Yeah,
that the...
I have one with a grinder, but mostly I just like touch them
You just
with
kinda
my
grab
hand.
them
Yeah,
and-
they
okay.
have different mouth feels, different textures. I use them for
Mhm.
different things. I really,
That's
really
nice.
love them, but I thought, you know, why not go to an expert? So I went to somebody who owns a sea salt company. So yes, I send out a newsletter. That goes out twice a month. If anybody wants it, they can just go on my website and sign up for it.
Which is theconsciousplate.com.
Yes,
I think I just signed up for it this past
Oh,
week.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So if anybody wants it, they're welcome to sign up for it. And then on the site, if you click on the blog, there's old articles, so you can go see things that were written in the
Oh,
past.
nice.
Yeah.
So we're going to be winding down shortly, so I have to ask you a question about the breakfast myth.
Yeah.
How important is breakfast? And you know, before people start their work day and they're feeling not wanting to feel sluggish or having a big interview or meeting, what kind of things should they be putting in their body to kick off their day? I'm assuming that the American runs on Dunkin' may not actually be the way to go.
It wouldn't be my choice. You know, I mean, I have to say, you know, I don't think that any one diet is right for everybody. So individually, we're all going to be different. So the breakfast that works best for you may not be the breakfast that works best for me. But having said that, you know, I want to go back again to the whole foods. You know, make sure that there's actually food in your food. You know, don't eat something that's purely white flour. Don't eat something that's overly sugary that's going to like pick you up and drop you down. For me, I like to have protein in the morning. I find that it makes a huge difference. So what I'll do is I'll quickly saute some vegetables. Scallions are full of flavor. Like I'll use onions on the weekend, but like during the work week, I'll use some scallions in a couple of minutes. They're ready. Maybe add some mushrooms to it. Quickly scramble an egg in there, maybe put that in an organic corn tortilla and have like a nice breakfast taco, maybe top it with some hot sauce and chopped avocado, you know, so something like that, or a quick scramble with spinach and, you know, something.
So something to create some sustenance
Yeah,
besides. And
yeah.
how important do you think to actually eat something to have some fuel in your body before?
I think it's really, really important. I mean, do you feel the difference when you eat and when you don't?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the
do.
difference. You
Even
know,
if I just grab a cheese stick and a banana for the train to have, you know, something in my
right,
system.
that's
to
right.
Go. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I could be feeling like, you know, last night, for example, I didn't get quite enough sleep, and this morning I ate breakfast, and after I ate my breakfast, I felt nourished.
So that
you know?
even like
and I
makes
didn't even have
difference
a
for
big
that.
breakfast, but I felt nourished.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
great. I think food is great, and I look forward to reading more of your website and how you have created more conscious eating
Thank
with
you.
your food. Are you still teaching classes at the school, at Columbia High School for the adult school?
Actually, I taught something recently that it was held at the middle school, at the South Orange Middle School, through the adult school. So yes, I am still
We can
teaching
find
there.
we can find that information on your website.
The adult school class was not on the website, but on my
Okay.
website you can see a full list of programs and
Great.
services. And I actually have a book coming out too.
Oh, exciting! What's your
Yeah.
book going to be called?
Delicious for Life, your everyday guide to making quick and healthy meals.
Oh, we'll have to have you back on again
Yeah.
after that gets launched
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah, that's going to be out in a couple of weeks.
That's fabulous. Well, thank you so much for being on the Career Corner. And everyone can find you at theconsciousplate.com. So if you'd like to turn your eating habits to being more conscious, please look up Randy Rabney, the founder of ConsciousPlate.com. And thank you for joining the Career Corner. I look forward to seeing you again, and I wish you much career success. We're on YouTube now, so check out our shows on YouTube, and you can write me at heatherswift.net if you have any ideas of what kind of career advice or excitement you would like to see.